Pegah, so in the length of a tweet or a tweet thread, what did we talk about today?
We talked about different strategies that we can use customer experience analytics to leverage customer experience analytics and in support of the business to be able to improve customer experiences.
I'm Amy Syed. I'm Sean Collins.
And this is Numbers and Narratives. Hey everyone, welcome back to Numbers and Narratives. Today we've got Pegah Valeh, who is at Reality Labs over at Meta. Pegah, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll go from there?
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Pegah Valeh and I lead the customer experience team at Meta and specifically in Reality Labs, which we basically... This is a part of the organization that's like really focused on mixed reality, augmented reality, metaverse, if you heard of it, which is like our horizon world. So a lot of really cool stuff. And we also have our products such as Quest that a lot of you might be familiar with, which are VR and like mixed reality devices, as well as Ray-Ban Meta, which is an AR device. So we have devices that we sell. We also have content and games. So my team is really focused on understanding customer experiences with our devices, specifically in the world of B2C, and really bringing those insights back to the business to improve customer experiences. So customer experience is my passion. I have more than 15 years of experience in this area in companies such as Meta, Lululemon, Best Buy. So and I started as a researcher and as an analyst, and I kind of then started obsessed with customer experience analytics and research. And so, yeah, here we are after 15 years. I'm still in this area, and I'm pretty passionate about it.
That's awesome. Wow, I didn't actually realize that you started off as a researcher. That's super, super interesting. And yeah, I guess your entire background is B2C then? My entire background is B2C. That's pretty cool. With Meta's a gigantic company. Like I interned there once upon a time, but like there's tons and tons and tons of, requests that you must come through either from what people are trying to purchase or people actually using the product. How do you stay on top of customer priorities and what people are asking?
Yeah, so for us, priority, so there are two things, like priority on like getting the insight, getting the request and which one to prioritize, but also priority in terms of what to bring back to our partners to show what is the priority for the business to work on. So which I think in both cases, kind of the same approach. We look at impact of like a customer experience issue that we find, or look at the impact of the insights that we're trying to create. And we measure impact based on two things. One is severity of the issue, and the other one is the prevalence of the issue. So when we are prioritizing our customer experience issues and which one to address first and which one to bring to our partners, we look at which one has like highest impacts on our customers, like looking at how many customers are going to get impacted by it, and then how bad it is. And we usually measure it by our experiential metrics such as NPS and customer satisfaction, just to tell us how bad and how severe is the issue. But we also measure, like, quantify how many customers are going to be impacted by it. And eventually, like, I think that the challenge is when we get insights from multiple different channels, how do we prioritize? Because like it's more simpler that if you just see an issue coming up in one specific channel, let's say it's just within support, then you can quantify it easily. But like it's another level of prioritization or like weighting of that issue when you see that is coming up across multiple channels, or when it shows up in one channel and kind of trickle down to other channels. Like it shows up in purchase experience, for example, but it also impacts customer experience on support or other areas of the business. So that's another factor. We take that into consideration, that how many channels it also impacts. and where it's showing up. If it's showing up in product reviews, if it's showing up in social media, then it's more important because it seems like people are more vocal about it. So we have to react to it faster.
That is fascinating because, for a lot of reasons. But when you think about the measuring it with NPS or something like that, do you look at like the difference between the NPS score of people who are writing in with an issue and what like the average NPS is, or kind of how do you take an NPS score and use that to identify how severe an issue is?
It's a quad map type of, problem solving, that you look at the ones with lower NPS and higher volume. So combination of the two is how we measure impact. So a lot of our reports, we actually have just one column dedicated to impact. That's what we measure, which is like if you remove that. So if you look at the world of surveys, the way that you can measure impact is that if you remove that a specific issue that customers are rating within their NPS, for example, score, if you remove that from the entire, data, how much this is going to improve NPS. That's one way to say this is the impact, because based on the volume of the surveys that you're receiving for this issue, as well as based on the score, how bad it is, if you remove it, then you can see, okay, this was so bad when I removed it, NPS improved by 5 points. That's kind of an impact. But we also try to go one step further and not just look at the survey volume, but actually look at the actual volume that might impact and be able to there are some channels that it's easy to look at it. So you don't have to wait for surveys. Like if in a specific issue, customers are contacting us within support, we have that operational data available of how many people contacted us. So it's easy to look at NPS and then volume based on how many people contacted about that issue, which it kind of shows up this is a big issue or not. So different layers of operational and experiential data, I think, experiential data that we can look at to determine if something is important or not.
And that must have
NPS.
That must have a pretty severe impact to retention too, because NPS metrics especially are on the podcast we talk all the time about keeping your customers happy and making sure people stay around, creating that great customer experience so that people keep using the product. I assume you guys have figured out that positive NPS obviously positively impacts the brand. So on the growth side, you get an uptick. If people love you, they'll speak more positively about you in the public, and that will cause word of mouth growth. But then on the flip side of it, also if customers are happy, then that NPS metric probably has a pretty high correlation to retention.
Yeah. We did some research, not just here at Meta, but in my previous companies as well. We did research around the ROI of CX or ROI of NPS, and the insights is just so fascinating. However you look at it, it just tells the same story. Like promoters are spending more time with you, spending more money with you, and they're going to come back again. So we also recently ran so the way I would like to look at customer experience, ROI of customer experience, is not necessarily just with retention and these guys. I really want to look at it from the customer lifetime value perspective. But in reality, measuring customer lifetime value is very challenging, and it's not an easy one. There are different approach to it. You really need to have good access to good data, quality data. So here at Meta, we still haven't got to the point that we can use customer lifetime value. This is something I really want to use, but it's also challenging for new companies because customer lifetime value really start to be meaningful when you have a lot of products, when you have a lot of customers that stays with you for more duration of a time. We're kind of a new company with new products. So it's a little bit challenging, but it's completely doable. Right now, the way that we look at it is based on impact of NPS, for example, on top bottom line metrics and impact of experience in general on bottom line metrics and top line metrics. So bottom line metrics, I think it's very easy when you're working with support channels that are basically cost centers to look at the impact of how much a detractor costs more for your business. And so easy to look at. It's like, yeah, this is pretty much, obvious that and it shows up in data over and over again that our detractors are costly, like way more costly than our promoters. So it kind of justifies some of the investments that you're making. But at the same time, you also look at top line metrics like impact on engagements using the product, impact on purchases, which again, we were able to find correlation, a very strong correlation on like people that are happier or promoters are spending more with us compared to detractors, or engage with products more, like they maybe like use the products more. So it's interesting. Like I think it's kind of obvious. There are lots of industry research out there, but when you do the analysis yourself and see it like showing up in your own customers, it's also pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I guess prior to you having that analysis done and you having kind of like the proof to say like, listen, other teams, this is an issue and you need to, take my feedback and get it on the roadmap. How were you able to get CX issues or ideas that your team had and get that actually put on a product roadmap? I feel like that's the recurring theme that comes up with CX teams, is that they feel like they don't have like a seat at the table. They're not doing anything besides being reactionary.
Yeah. I don't think we necessarily felt like we needed those insights to be done for us. Like that was just additional confirmation that, yeah, this applies to our business. But the good news is that there are so many research out there. And that, like, there's so many industry research that's saying exact same thing over and over again, different industries showing up the same results. So when we started, the first thing we did was just like putting together a deck about like all these research that are out there about like the ROI of customer experience, the importance of customer experience, why customer centricity is important, how it's impacting companies, stock price, like long-term impact, short-term impact. So we kind of use that as a, evangelization, mechanism to bring it back to our partner and say, hey, we're new. We've been out there for a few years and like, not even that, but a few months. Here's some insights that you just need to trust us. So, which is challenging. And because like, I don't know if I haven't provided that context, but when I started at Meta, we didn't have a customer experience program at Reality Labs the same way we had today. So we had to build it from the ground up. So literally from zero. And then going and building that trust and confidence with your partners was really important for them to start trusting us. So we had to put together some material. And at that point, we had no data to be able to show the value of customer experience, but we had industry research. But in general, I think I think there are two things that are really, really important if you want to make sure that our partners are convinced and you can have more influence in terms of partners and different teams that are impacting customer experience. You're really using the insights and being engaged with it. I think the first one, and I think one of the most important one, at least for us, is actionability of our analytics. So, and when I say actionability of analytics, it's all about how timely the analytics is, how relevant they are, and how much they are tailored to the business objectives and goals and needs. So that's one of the most important things we're trying to capture every time we do the analytics, to make sure that our analytics and the insights that we are providing our partners are really, really clear or concise, but has like provide them with clear understanding of what are exactly the issues that they have to address, with quantitative, with us being able to quantify it for them and be able to say, hey, this is the impact that it's going to have on the metrics that you care about. So basically trying to speak their language. And it's not easy. It's going to take time to understand what sticks with them and what not, and what they care about. But that's the only way to make sure that they are engaged. And especially in our business, the language of our business is really data. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to it, and you guys also can relate. Like most of us, like the business language is data. So we need to be able to provide that data in an actionable way and clear way in terms of the impact that it have on the objectives and goals of the business. Which then, that I think for me, that differentiates a very good analyst with a great analyst. A great analyst is the one that can really translate a lot of insights and just bring it back and boil it down to few bullet points that I as a business care about, and then be able to tell that story very clearly and come up with recommendations instead of just giving me all the data and the word and then have me figure it out. No, I need to know now what exactly I need to do, which then I think brings me to the next things that is very, very important. If we nail these two things, I think we have a very good chance of being able to have engaged partners. And the second one is partnership. Because everything that I just mentioned, if you don't have a very close partnership with these partners, with these cross-functional folks that we work with, we can't tailor the insights. We can't know what they really need. So what are the things that we're really, really focused on is to make sure that we have a strong connection with these teams. We are embedding ourselves in their areas. We're part of their teams, and they understand that we're on their side. So when we're bringing them insights, they trust in insights. They feel confident that this insights would be actionable. This insights is good, and to their benefit, basically, and finding the common ground. Like, this is a win-win situation. But like, we build a very, very close relationships with our partners and people that we feel like impact our customer experiences. And like, there's so many of those teams. So we're constantly in the process of expanding, building more, and creating more relationship with these partners. But I think if the teams that we were extremely successful in applying our insights into action were the teams that we had a very close relationship with. And we built that trust and confidence.
That's super interesting. So it's, one is make sure that you can, this is, my background is as a data scientist. Sean and I talk about this all the time. It's the first point that you made is like, the data needs to be able to be actionable. Like, so many data people will just throw things on a screen and be like, here is the data. And all of the business folks are like, okay, but so what? Like, I'm paying you to obviously like manipulate the info, but I'm also paying you to give me like a couple recommendations, right? Like, I like to make fun of McKinsey a lot, but when they teach their like analysts to make slides, like, there's always the key takeaway box at the bottom. Like, what does this data actually mean? And then second off is, okay, but once you have the data, you also need to have people that are on your side to like take that action. If you're going to tell someone, you have to kind of do the whip the boats, get people on your side, get them understanding what you're talking about. So that's super interesting. One follow-up question. A lot of the folks that listen to the podcast are sort of in the growth and retention marketing space. You mentioned that you interact with quite a lot of teams. Can you talk to us a little bit about how, different folks in some of those roles use, like, how you work together with them, like on either growth marketing, retention marketing? I can think of a couple examples off the top of my head, but I'm kind of curious to hear how it worked for y'all.
Yeah, so the way that we work with our partners or find our partners is the way that we look at the customer journey. So we have listening across multiple touch points of customer journey. So that means that the insights that we're collecting about that specific customer journey, like awareness journey, for example, or purchase journey, or delivery, support, and so on, we find people and partners within each of these touch points that we know have influence on acting on customer feedback. And then we find those folks and we partner with them. So in areas that we have like established surveys, we also have very established partnerships because like the insights is constant and nonstop. Like, we constantly give them insights. We give them access to our dashboards. But we also give them like monthly insights, ad hoc insights based on things that are happening on the business, like emerging trends or, launches that are happening. So we have a very close partnership. And as I mentioned, like, partnership is really based on customer touch points. and the way that we look at customer experience. So, for example, we look at purchase experience on our website. So we have a very close relationship with our e-commerce team, and we constantly share insights with them. Like if we see something coming up, emerging trends, launches happening, events happening on the website, we're going to be there as part of their team in their war rooms or anywhere that they are making decisions, just to make sure the voice of customer is also present in those meetings. And then we also constantly feed them with data that's like relevant, that's just making sure that all these insights are top of mind. We also use these insights to validate some of the things that they're doing. So, hey, we launched something new, we changed something on the website. Let's just use the insights to validate if it was successful or not from the perspective of customer. And it's kind of the same thing with the other channels that we work with. We have dedicated analysts for each of these touch points, basically. So some of our analysts are, because of the scope, might just be focused on one touch point, but we have analysts that are focused on 2 to 3 touch points that basically they build relationship with all these partners, and they're constantly present in their areas. And as I mentioned, they're connected and go to their meetings and share these insights there. But also we share insights broadly on our own, team, and then on our own, channels that we usually use for sharing insights. So, our approach is to share insights as frequently and as broadly as possible.
Is there like a format you have found that works well for kind of that internal marketing about, here's the analysis we did, here's the way it's going to impact, here's, 3 ways we're working on this or whatever? I feel like that internal messaging bit is always an interesting and tough one, where people don't want to just send out an email. They don't want to have a meeting for the sake of a meeting. They're worried it'll get lost in a Slack. So like, how do you effectively tell, especially at an organization with the size of Meta? I find it a problem at Built with like 180 people. I found it a problem other places with like 20 people. Like it's a tough challenge to make sure people are actually getting and learning and receiving.
So I think it really depends on the culture of the company and culture of that team, how they digest their information. Usually the way that we share our insights, we have our internal communication tools, I can call it. Imagine Facebook but for business. So we have like a platform like that, which is like combine, Zoom and Facebook together, or like Slack and Facebook together, something like that. So basically we do have groups that we share these insights in the groups, and these insights shows up in their feeds. Basically, that's how it works, our internal system. Most of us at Meta, that's how we digest our information, like through these posts that people make on their own pages, on their own groups. And if we follow them, or sometimes not, if they're open group, then it shows up in our feed. So we have established those groups, and our partners are part of those groups. So they follow that group, and any insights we post, they get to see. But we also so this is like more like a, just passive, just sharing the insights. But we also have like proactively going after some of our folks. So we share these insights in their own specific groups. We also have emails that we send out to our executives. So every channel you can think of, we share these insights to make sure that every types of audience are just getting. And it's not hard. It's just a matter of putting the work to do the analysis, but then maybe 20 minutes sharing it in different channels that maybe different types of people might be there to see it. But also with some of our closer folks, we send them directly. And then we go to their meetings. We present in their own meetings and make sure that they see it. We have like dedicated meetings for some of our channels that we come together on a monthly basis. We share our insights and our learnings. But we also have like a bigger meeting that everyone's invited on a monthly basis, that we share absolutely all the insights for the previous month across all the touch points. We capture customer insights from the time the customer purchased to the time that they come back and they want services or return their product, replace their product. We share all the insights, all our learnings for that specific month in one meeting. So if someone happens to miss some of these communication that we had, they can come to the meeting, ask questions, and collaborate. The other thing that we do that we found very, very helpful was establishing CX champion community. So basically, the community is consists of people that are really passionate about the word of customer experience, or like improving customer experience and customer centricity, but also the people that are part of this community are part of another teams. So they're basically part of our partner teams, but they're dedicated to work with us to then translate the insights that we provide them to their own group, bring it back, be like a bridge between us and their own team, because it's very hard for us to navigate. Like we have a lot of partners, and you can imagine like we're pretty big. So it's very tough for us to be able to navigate other people's organizations. So we have these CX champions that their job is to help us navigate their organization. We share the insights with them. They're going to capture it. They're going to go and share it with the relevant people in their own team, and then work with their own team to translate it into actions. We also found that this has been very helpful for us to navigate the scale of our operations.
That's fascinating. That this has absolutely nothing to do with CX, but that is very much how logistics works in the Army too. Where you'd have like a central logistics organization, and you'd send out individuals to other units to like be your kind of champion and be able to voice like as a liaison between the two. Haven't thought about that in a very long time, but that's fascinating.
That's super cool that you guys have created that sort of like really, really tight feedback loop. And it kind of reminds me of, I used to work at a company called Drift. They do those sales intelligence like chatbots on websites for a while. And one of the Slack channels that we had there was something called Shipyard. And it's the same thing that you mentioned, but from an engineering perspective. Like it's always really difficult to figure out like what new features have been launched or what things are like going out on a day-to-day basis. And so when, some major code change anytime a code change that impacted a customer went out, it was posted in there. And so that if anyone like a CSM, like somebody who was like working on a customer account, needed to see it, they like would be able to say, oh, hey, like we launched this new feature. This is something that you guys asked for. Just oftentimes that like feedback loop is pretty difficult.
Because this is important to be on both sides. I think this is a very good point, because it's not just about us giving people insights and things that are happening. We really expect our partners to do the same thing, because if they don't, we don't know what's going on in the business. So if they don't tell us that we changed this, we launched this, we're going to do X, Y, Z. These are some of the changes that are happening in our business. If we don't know what's happening in their business, we see movements in the data and we have absolutely no idea. And all we can do is to hypothesize and it's basically waste our time just going to data layer by layer to understand what's going on. Where if we were embedded and if they were doing a better job of communicating with us what's happening, then we wouldn't have to spend so much time. We could very quickly say, hey, this was the impact of the work that you did. But when we're not aware, it makes it very hard, which is one of the challenges that we're trying to navigate. We have gotten so much better at it by being embedded in these groups, as I mentioned, and building very close relationship with these partners and getting access to the projects and things that they're doing. But every now and then things get missed as well. So we have to go after, hey, we're seeing weird things are happening in the data. What's going on? And then we get that. Yeah, we launched this. Okay, we would have loved to know before. But I think that's very important to have that channel of communication that's two-way communication, not just one way, not just us giving them insights, but also they give us insights and learnings about their business.
That's super cool. Sean, I think this has some of the biggest takeaways of any of the episodes that we've recorded, where it's just straight up I think the takeaway is talk to more people. Talk to people at the business about what you're doing and surface what you're seeing, because it is the best thing a business can do is talk to its customers and sort of keep on that train and being that liaison between what the customers are saying and taking it back to the business is super, super important.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I've written down all these points you've made that underscore other one-off points that have been made across the last 15 or so podcasts, and then you perfectly summarized them and added a little bit. And so starting at minute 13 when you started talking about CX gaining influence with actionability and partnership, I mean, I had like 500 things pop up in my head about, and that's basically, personalization is what you said with partnership. Understand what their objectives are, what their metrics are, what their pain points are, what they're trying to do, and figure out how to tailor your analysis and recommendations and insights to that. And make sure that they understand that you are on their side, was the line you said. And that is every, retention marketer's dream right there, is boiled down into a single sentence: is make your users, make your customers, make your members feel like you're on their side. And you do that by understanding them to a very, very deep level. And so I thought that was fascinating beyond CX. I mean, that's a way to be great at retention. That's a way to be just successful as any business unit plugging into an organization. And then the actionability side of it. You mentioned kind of like the good analyst versus a great analyst. We talked with Selena Ibby, if you remember, and she said that a lot of analysts she sees, they're like, I did hours of analysis. Here's all, I want you to see everything I did so you understand how much work went into this. And it's like, I don't care. I just want to know what to do next. And so how do you ignore that, 2 weeks of work you did and put that into a headline and 3 bullet points as if it's a landing page, and make it tailored to your user, your business partner, make it super actionable and relevant. Paint the case of like, if you do this, here's what can happen. If you don't do this, here's what will happen. We could just end the podcast there.
Yeah. I think, Pegah, we don't have that much time left, but I want to get your take on one thing that I've been thinking quite a lot about, is like, how do you see this? Like, what's kind of like next on the horizon for you? Like, it sounds like you guys have a really, really good machine, and you don't have to talk about this from Meta's perspective. You can talk about this from, the CX world as a whole. Where do you see sort of the what are the next steps for you? Like, what are you looking forward to implementing in the next couple of years? Like, what do you think is going to change with the advent of AI? What's kind of like next on the frontier?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's just like we've gotten so better in the last few years that I've been working in this area in the listening side. So there's so many good tools out there that you can leverage to listen to customers. But I think what we really need to nail is on the analytics side. So the so what that we just mentioned, like, we have so much data, but what are we doing with it? Like, how are we leveraging it? I think for me is something that's really, really important. Like, how can we make sure that we just don't rely on explaining what happened and then take our time to just action on things, but like be more quick in our response, be more proactive in our responsiveness, be quick in analyzing the customer insights and the action on it. With the use of predictive analytics, with the use of prescriptive analytics, I'm not seeing that much they're being used in the world of customer experience. Even if you start like searching about it, you see like the usage of predictive and prescriptive analytics is prevalent in all the other types of businesses, but CX is still not there. Like there are some companies that are doing a really, really good job leveraging predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics to really orchestrate actions for their customers, but there's still not a huge maturity out there. But you ask about AI, and I think AI is really, really going to change this. I think the advent of AI in the field of analytics would really kind of help make a significant change in the world of analytics, in my opinion, for AI. And it's going to really help accelerate the progress towards really improving customer experience. Because I think if you look at it, what AI really enables for us is going to enable for us is help increase the depth of analytics, the scale of analytics, and the speed of the insights, of the speed that we're getting the insights. So if you're looking at it that way, with AI and then some progress in analytics, we're going to have real time access to insights, and even more quicker than we have access to, and that all these things that are happening to customers is just going to real time give us insights on what are the customer pain points, what are the things that we can do to improve these experiences. So not only it will give us quick analytics, access to real-time analytics, but it also helps us be more quick in our responses, like promptly responding to customer pain points, customer needs, which eventually creates a better seamless experience that's also more responsive to customers. But the other thing I mentioned is about the scale. So currently it's a challenge to look at a huge amount of data, but I think with AI, we're going to be able to digest a huge diverse set of insights. And AI not only can digest all those big set of insights, but it can quickly bring out themes, pain points, and more accurately and, with a high precision, really bring back the insights to the business, and then we can use to scale our operation, to scale our customer experience improvements, and then be able to understand, predict next behaviors that customer is going to have, predict in general themes and sentiment, but also be able to personalize customer experiences, which is right now there's a lot of personalization happening already, but AI can help us personalize at scale. And I think that's really important. That I think with the advent of AI, the future of CX is going to be really, really different, because everyone now has access to these types of insights, and everyone can create personalized experiences. Everyone can predict. And then the future of the customer experience would be a very, with the help of AI, hopefully seamless, personalized, and proactive. So, but at the same time, I think the issue with AI is that there's also challenges, right? So one challenge that AI might pose is that we all the companies really need to start thinking about, which is like, as I mentioned, change is going to happen in a higher speed. And that means that we also have to be able to adopt our business in a way that can quickly adapt to customer needs and customer, preferences, because we are getting a lot of insights at a higher speed in terms of what customer really wants, what they really want to do. But if we can adopt our technologies and tools and practices and our business in general to be adaptive and flexible, we can't catch up to that, all the advantages that AI analytics, for example, would bring to us, because we have to be as quick as responding to customer needs as AI would bring these insights and learnings to us. So it's really about flexibility of the business that we have to navigate. But the other thing is also, which I think is very top of mind for everyone's working with AI in general in the world of AI, is that especially when it comes to become more prevalent in the customer experience analytics, I think businesses will really need to start considering really the ethical issues behind AI, such as data privacy, bias, and transparency. So we really need to build proper ethical safeguards and, implement better and, safer privacy and security standards to make sure that the solutions that we're building are fair, transparent and respectful to customer data and privacy, which I think is going to be the next challenge for us with AI and customer experience analytics, AI getting more prevalent in the business. But again, with any technology, there are a lot of benefits, but there's also challenges and things that we have to consider.
The responsiveness, the personalization, that's super, super topical. I think especially with making sure that customers can get their issues resolved without actually hitting a person, improving the customer experience, making it more preventative rather than reactive, all that kind of fun stuff. Sean, any last words? I think that might be a good place for us to close.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. It's really cool to hear how you're thinking about having CX teams become more proactive. I think that is as opposed to reactive. I think that's always been one of the biggest pain points, is that's like what we think CX should be, and what it often ends up being is CS. And so it's hard to kind of get that delineation. I think it comes through that empowerment. That's awesome.
Thanks so much for coming on, Pegah. Lastly, before we finish off, if our listeners want to find more of your musings, more advice from you, where can they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, so they can find me on LinkedIn. if they search Pegah Valeh, I don't think there's any other Pegah Valeh.
We'll link
a lot of problem.
we'll link it into the show notes. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This is a great conversation. Really, really excited. Really excited to hear what people have to say about it.
Yeah, thank you both for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, that was great. It was so fun having you on. We really, really appreciate you taking the time.